Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today. My name's Lisa Levinson. I'm the campaigns director with In Defense of Animals, and we are here together to celebrate Activist Appreciation Month. And we're doing that with programs to enhance your activism and also maybe on topics that you might be a little curious about. So today we have a program about vegan cat and dog food with an expert in the field. So we'll tell you about that in just a moment. But to start off, if you're curious to learn more about Activist Appreciation Month, you can find our programs at idausa.org/activist month. And I'm here today with my colleague, Mary Easonsey, and the development team. Hey, Mary, how are you?
Hi, everybody. I'm good. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, it's great. And she'll be chatting with you. So if you're with us on Zoom, you can check the chat. If you're live, then we'll also tune into that as well on our Facebook. Um, right now, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Briana Schweizer, who's here as the CEO with Virtuous Vittles. So we want to hear all about this. And thank you so much for joining us, Briana.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. I remember I saw you at a Veg Fest type of event, and that
Yeah.
was really fun. So it's this is the culmination of some great conversations, and I'm so excited about what you're bringing to all of our animal companions, and also to those of us who may be vegan and not eat other animals ourselves. This is a very important topic. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have a couple of questions to ask you, if that's all right.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, first off, I am curious, probably as many people are here, about this idea and how you actually got started. What inspired you to create this type of a product?
Yeah. Thank you. So I've been plant-based since I was 12 years old. I decided I didn't want to kill animals for my food, and had some pressure to, still eat a bit. So I read Animal Liberation and went vegan. And so it's been a lifelong, or most of my life, I've been interested, and I'm also a lover of living with cats and dogs. So I had vegan cats a very long time ago. I made their food for 3 years, and they, were very healthy, and they loved it. It was interesting actually to watch them each kind of blossom in their own way because it kind of opened their palates. They started enjoying, little nibbles of like broccoli and mushrooms and things that you don't think cats love, but they seemed just more interested in a variety of food. Um, and so it's quite time consuming. I was taking them to the vet twice a year. Back then, my vet was giving me a lot of pushback um, on it. But we were doing blood work, and they were very healthy. Um, when I got busier and transitioned into the working world, I found I wasn't able to maintain that. So they have continued to be on a plant-based kibble, but there just aren't a lot of there's really actually only one wet food on the market currently, and it's not one that my cats were particularly responding to. So that's so flash forward years forward, and I have now a small dog, Ziggy. And I was also sort of feeding him a mixture of plant and conventional foods, and not feeling good about it. And partly it was because he's a very picky eater, and we just weren't finding stuff that was like super resonating with him if I wasn't cooking it. And again, that's a time-consuming thing, and not everybody can do that. So that was really what inspired Virtuous Vittles. I've been an activist for, well, since I was 12, and have sort of had more public and less public moments in my activism. Sometimes you get tired and, kind of take it internally. When the idea for Virtuous Vittles came to me, I was like, here, this is the thing. This is the thing that will radically change, has the ability to really, really create a a large wake. We feed 25% of the meat in our country to our cats and dogs, and the average 50-pound dog eats more than an average American adult, and we know how more meat than an average American adult, and we know how heavily, Americans are known for eating for consuming meat. So
Mm. Wow. Um, that's so interesting. I had no idea about those facts and figures. Thank you for
isn't it wild?
educating us. That is absolutely wild. Yeah.
Yeah. I had no idea either. I mean, you always think it's like, oh, it's the byproducts or whatever, and it is partially that. But especially as people have become more aware of the kind of animal products that are put in conventional food, the 4Ds, the dead, diseased, dying, the stuff that we won't eat, the entrails, just the parts of the animal that humans won't consume. Um, they have switched to more human grade meat, which is of course just compounding the the climate concerns, the animal ethical concerns, because we're killing more animals uh, to feed our cats and dogs.
Yeah. So this is an important consumer need that you're filling for vegans, especially because it's connected to our moral and ethical values. So many of us, this has been a conflict for us for many years, and I think what you're doing is providing a sustainable solution. So, yeah, I'd love to hear maybe a little more. Is the plant-based food safe for dogs long term? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, I think it definitely is. I mean, there's a few different reasons. The first is dogs co-evolved with humans. So even down to their genetic structure, they have a similar number of genes that synthesize starches to humans, like unlike their wolf ancestors who have only two, they have, closer to 20, 22, like humans do. So we know now that plant-based diets are very safe for humans, and dogs are very similar in most ways. Because they've evolved eating what we throw away on the scrap pile or decide to feed them. Um, so that's kind of the historical basis for it. But really, there have been multiple studies that have shown that biomarkers remain healthy, sometimes improve health actually. Same with like there have been several large scale surveys of dog guardians who've comparing meat conventional foods to plant-based foods, and again shown not with huge statistical significance, but with some. And then there's multiple that have shown some improvement just sort of across the board in long-term health outcomes and diseases. One such survey showed that vegan dogs lived on average 1.5 years longer than their meat consuming counterparts.
Hmm. Hmm. Gee,
Yeah.
that is
I,
also pretty amazing to know that the animals are in better health than they would
yeah.
be otherwise. Hmm. I think that's very intriguing for many of us.
Yeah.
Um, so um, it sounds like for dogs, it does meet their biological needs. And um, I'm wondering about cats, perhaps. I know
Yes.
this has maybe
It's
been more controversial, but curious about cats.
Yes, definitely also a bit of a hotter topic. I think it's an easier sort of logic, leap to go from human to dog than all the way to cat. Cats in the wild are obligate carnivores, unlike dogs, who are omnivores. So um, however, we are not, they're not eating wild food anymore. Their diet is what we design for them, whether it's made with conventional meat products or made with plant products. Um, and the reality is that a lot of cat food, even, you know, people think cats can't eat plants. Well, they absolutely can. Most conventional cat food, whether it's fish or chicken or cow or whatever, has a pretty large component that is made from plant ingredients. So, and a lot of elimination diets and uh, diets to treat certain diseases are also 100% plant-based. So there have been, so cats consume plants. There have been some studies about bioavailability, and seems like the bioavailability is the same between protein coming from meat sources and coming from plant sources, as long as it's, high quality protein. We're talking about still carefully formulating and designing their foods with the right balance of amino acids and minerals and, specific things that cats do need that traditionally come from their prey, from the flesh of other animals. Um, but if those are formulated properly, and that goes the same for conventional meat foods and for plant-based foods, they, show no difference in the way that they're able to use those proteins. And there have been, there's multiple companies currently that produce high quality kibble, including like Ami, been around for I think 30 years, and fed thousands of cats for that have had long, healthy lives. So there's a lot of anecdotal evidence. There's several studies. Of course, we'd love to have more studies. Studies are expensive and difficult to coordinate, especially with cats. Um, Cats are just in general less studied than dogs across all of veterinary medicine. So, but we'd love to see more studies. But like, with a pretty high level of confidence, we can say that if it's formulated properly, if those nutrients are being met, nutrient requirements are being met, what really matters is the nutrient, the nutrients in the food, not where they come from, whether it's animal or plant based.
Hmm. This is so interesting for sure. I really like hearing about the cats in particular because I know it's been such a conflict and curiosity for many of us. Plus, I have to admit, I am a cat nudie myself. So, and I'm
Yeah, and it was really important to us to like. It's definitely a harder like road to, it's gonna be there's gonna be more education. There's already a significant, as you mentioned earlier, a number of people who choose to be vegan for their own food and are still uncertain about dogs. So we know that there's even more education required sort of to get people comfortable with the cats. But I think it's just a matter of education.
well, I was wondering also about with regard to the kitties, the formulation that you have is it's appealing to me because I know you mentioned that there were the kibble varieties, but then there's kidney issues that do happen with kitties as they age, and so a lot of veterinarians are recommending to have the kitties eat only wet food. So when your product came out, and I thought, oh, this is a wet food that is going to also be beneficial for their kidneys. I don't know if you had anything like that in mind or
Yes.
about the formulation that you've chosen.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so we are just making wet food because it is, my belief that, yeah, as much as possible, you should feed wet food. I mean, my cats love their kibble, and I give it to them as a little like crunchy, and it's like the croutons on top of their salad because they love chomping on it, and that's fine. But in general, you definitely wet food is better for their system overall. It's like it's closer to, the way they would be consuming their calories in nature as well. So so right now we're still working on the cat food. We're anticipating and hopefully early summer debut for it. We have our dog food out, and it is the first on market sort of morsels and gravy. So we make a plant-based meat and we chop it up and we put it with a bunch of fresh vegetables and delicious sauce. And it is specifically formulated for urinary health. So um, that the way that we sort of approach that is, because urinary issues are common in both cats and dogs. The way we approach that is uh, putting just a really honed in perfect mineral balance. So we're not like over mineralizing anything because those can contribute to stones and struvites, crystals in their bladder. Um, it's also high moisture, which is good for their systems. And we do it, we just balanced it for urinary health. We are going to attempt to do the same with cats. It's a little bit trickier because uh, it requires some sort of reduction in some of the ingredients that they really find delicious. So, so we may not quite hit the same strictness in level of sort of that preventative intent with the formulation. But as because it's a wet food, because we are going to be conscientious of that, we're definitely designing for that as well.
Mm. Well, it's good to know for sure. Just want to have food that's good for their kidneys because that's an issue. But like you said, the having the fluid content is that's the big part that is needed. So
Yeah.
that's super, super important. Um,
And not blasting them with any of the minerals, because there are certain minerals that you can actually have too much of.
mm,
Like, yeah.
well, just curious, the product that you have, would you say it's driven by ideology or by evidence?
Oh, evidence, definitely. I mean, I care deeply for the animals in my house, and I, it's very important that I mean, we're a mission-driven company because we think that we want to see more of this in the world. We want to see more options. I mean, animals need variety just like humans. We don't want to survive on one type of veggie burger for the rest of our lives either. I like, so 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 we're driven, we're mission driven in that way. And but we would never be doing this if it wasn't fully supported by the evidence. We're working with a board certified veterinary nutritionist, Dr. Sarah Dodd, who's one of the leaders in the field. She's the author of several of the studies that I've referenced earlier. And she's just has really dove into plant-based nutrition. Um, we're making sure it's complete and balanced, and we're following all of the evidence to get to where we're at.
Mm. Great. Well, that's good to know because I think that's among the big questions that many of us have are, is it scientifically, beneficial for the animals because we care about them so much. We want to make sure that they are having the the type of diet that many of us are choosing for ourselves for better health and also better for the environment. So I was curious, why do you think that the idea of pet food is such an overlooked part of the climate and sustainability conversation?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think just like, we both, the both of us have been in this world for so long and didn't know those sort of stats. I think it's kind of invisible. We think of it as a side thing. And I think it's just that. I think there's an invisibility aspect we don't consider. I think it's also sometimes hard to really conceptualize like how many cats and dogs we have and how much they're eating. You just sort of buy the bag of kibble and put it in the corner maybe and don't think about how much like food that is, how much mass that is.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah. Yeah, so the quarter of all meat. I mean, I didn't even know that when the idea for this company, came and we started that came shortly after as we started doing research and building, sort of our decks and going out for investment and which we ended up not taking. We're self-funded. We want to really, be able to closely adhere to our mission and build something that lasts. And we didn't want to take like VC funding and be sort of perhaps put in a position where we would have to sell or move on before we're ready. Um, but it was part of that discovery process, and I was just floored.
Yeah. Gosh, that's amazing too. Just how you really looked at all of the different angles and sides of it, and even just curious about like you've got the protein choice, and then you also have packaging, transport, and how do you see these in the as they say, pet food footprint?
Yeah, yeah. So we really wanted to focus on sustainability across the board. I mean, a lot of people are early adopters are probably going to be people who are also interested in animal ethics, and so that is a big part of it. But there's also a really large portion of the population who is concerned about climate change and reducing their uh, environmental footprint. And so we chose, so obviously plant protein is the number one thing, right? The difference between plant protein and animal protein in terms of the use of resources, water, land, energy is just, it's multiples and multiples, depends on what two proteins you're comparing, but it's always a factor of many. Um, so there's that. And then we also wanted to look at packaging and both transport sustainability and recycling sustainability. So our Tetra Paks they're able to, I have a couple right here. So this is our Tetra Pak, and they're able to pack really, really close together. So instead of like the cans, which are very recyclable, and we looked at first, they leave a bunch of space around them. So it takes like sometimes 50% more trucks to transport the same amount of food around. And when you're looking at scale, again, that's just a thing that's a little bit invisible to the consumer, but we wanted to consider every aspect of the product as we designed it and brought it to production.
Hmm. Gee, that's amazing. The look like really starting to think about the large scale of it with all the transportation and how much extra energy and effort it takes to move the cans around. Definitely something I hadn't thought of it.
Right? I know. Who would until you like kind of get into it. And then also, so there are a couple of fresh or frozen foods available. And while that's an intriguing idea, it is like that requires a constant refrigeration chain. It goes bad. So there's just it has a pretty high environmental impact.
Hmm. Well, thank you for sharing that because that is another product that we see when we go into the stores. We
Yeah.
see, oh, which one should we select? Or the frozen one? What is better? But I agree. I think it's nice to have a product that you don't have to depend on um, refrigeration, especially in times when the power goes out and then you've lost your food there. In this case, it's easy to transport and it's got good viability for
Yeah.
whatever might come up.
Yeah, that's right. 2 year shelf life lasts in the fridge for, 3 or 4 days after you open it. But it's also easy to bring with you, if you're traveling around or um, yeah.
Yeah, that's excellent. So important because for many of us, we bring our companion animals with us wherever we go, especially the pups. um, and just was wondering also about what, well, I know you mentioned that some of how you got started. Was there any kind of personal like contradiction that inspired you, or is this, just wondering about that too?
Personal contradiction that inspired me. Well, just, I mean, the fact that I was still, that, I had eliminated animal products from my diet for so long and had, kind of knew that it was possible to do that for cats and dogs, but just was struggling to find products that my animals were really, taking to and loving. So, uh, yeah. I was telling this to a friend and they were kind of joking. They're like, so you didn't have enough time to make the food, but you did have enough time to start a company. Which is funny, right? But I mean, I just figured if this is a problem that I'm having, then others must be having it too. We need more in this space. And so I mean, I love many of the other companies that are out there and just really think like this is a great community. It's growing as people become aware that this is a possibility, a real possibility, and in fact, a preferable choice in many ways for their own animals. We just need more. We need more.
Definitely, because a lot of the animals, especially kitties, are very particular too. So it's good to
Right.
have different options, and um,
Yeah.
one might prefer one style or type of food or taste of food, and
Yeah.
sometimes it changes up, so different flavors are
Yeah.
helpful, and I think that's important, as you mentioned, to have um, some different competition in this field too, so that the these things improve some of the flavors um, and all of that. And I was curious, what do you think might set your company apart from some of the other brands that are out there?
We're the only one that does the chunks and gravy style. So so far everyone else is doing pâtés. And some cats are great, some dogs and cats are great with pâtés. It they yeah, they didn't work so well for my particularly Ziggy, who's very picky. So yeah, so we're the first that does this like this morsels. And it was a whole process actually. So the idea came around 4 years ago. My best friend of 25 years, who's an IP lawyer, joined me. When we started having conversations, we talk every day, and I was telling her about what I was finding, and she's like, let's join forces on this and figure it out. It took us then 3 years to find the right partner to produce the food. We really wanted to keep within certain um we wanted to make a food like kind of a no compromise food. So it's super delicious. It all of the vitamins come from plant sources. We use only two synthetic ingredients in the whole food. Um and one of them is taurine. And which is not a requirement for dogs, but it's a nice to have. It is a requirement for cats, of course. And it is possible to obtain it from plant sources, but it's much more expensive, and there's not the same kind of benefit that you get from, say, like having other minerals come from plant sources, where there's like a bunch of cofactors that are present in the plant before it's processed into the mineral that you're or the vitamin that you're putting in the food. So um, yeah, that's that process, finding the right partner, getting a factory to produce a plant-based meat when they had never done it before. There was a bunch of technical hurdles that we had to sort of get over. We brought in a consultant who was a food scientist at Impossible Foods to help us to navigate some of those things. So it was a long road to get from sort of concept to where we are now. But we do have a very different product. It's just totally different in texture and taste. And we go the extra mile. We do full AAFCO panel testing on everything that we do. So you're not required to do that. You're just required to formulate to AAFCO. We actually send it to the lab and make sure that our formulation is matching what the lab results come back with. So that took a couple of extra rounds of just, because you'll get an ingredient and it'll say that it has certain things and it might be just a little bit off. So we had to really tweak and balance, but we came out with kind of just a product that we really believe in and
Mm.
excited to feed to our families. So
Yay. Well, I cannot wait to feed this to my cat, my dear companion. And Elsa is her name, and she is definitely a chunks girl. So she
awesome.
will not eat pate at all.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this, and that was what really drew me to your booth when I first met you, just to see, hey, this is amazing to see this different texture out there, and something new that might resemble uh, something familiar to
Yeah.
Miss Elsa. So I'm
Yeah.
seeing Mary. I'm wondering, we might have a lot of questions for you.
I'm seeing them.
Yeah. I was looking at the time, there's so many questions coming in, and I was like, we need more time for questions. So I was like, I'm just gonna pop in. But this is so interesting. You have so many questions in the chat. Um, Here's a great one because I have the exact same question that I was thinking the same thing earlier is how do I talk to my vet about feeding a cat plant-based food? because I assume most will not have heard of it and may even have an angry reaction.
Mhm.
What do I do?
Yeah, that's a really tough one. And it is true that most vet schools are sponsored by like one of the big four pet food companies who
Mm,
obviously are doing, I think stuff has evolved much like with human with human doctors. Like it used to be that you got like I don't know, like hours of nutritional education as part of your as part of the whole med school experience, and I think that is changing, and I think it's changing for vets as well, but they're also being you know sort of taught by conventional pet food companies that don't have a lot of motivation to do anything to change the system. So there are a bunch, quite a few studies by Dr. Andrew Knight and Dr. Sarah Dodd. I would start there and sort of pull them up, bring them in and have a conversation with your vet about that. I also think looking for, especially with cats, it is very difficult to make a homemade diet that meets everything. There are some supplementation. It's certainly possible, like I did it, but it's really a science. It takes a lot of dedication and care. So the easiest and the best thing is to find a commercial diet that meets AAFCO standards, that is independently tested, like ours, ideally, that can answer your questions. And to sort of be the go-between between your vet and the food company that you choose to, you know, ameliorate their concerns, basically.
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. We have more questions. One is, what is vegan taurine made of? This one hopefully should be quick.
Yeah, it's synthesized, so it's just the molecular structure of taurine,
Okay.
which is an amino acid. Yeah, and it is derived from some plants. I think it comes like you can get it. It's found in plants, like all amino acids are found in plants. It's just one of the ones where the extraction and doing a
Mm,
plant-based one is kind of
the work,
not
like
worth
the
the work and the
process
cost.
that it
Yeah.
takes. Right, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Similar to this one, there seems to be some confusion about taking cells from an animal versus a plant-based product. So I think what you're doing is plant-based product, and
That's right.
some people are thinking about lab-grown meat, which is another thing entirely, which
Totally.
is not what you're doing, but is fascinating, but not what we're talking about with Virtuous Vittles, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It is fascinating. Years ago, when I first, heard of plant-based or of cell cultures, I don't know, whatever that was, 15 years ago, I was like, oh wow, this is the way the world becomes, it eliminates animal agriculture. So it's a very exciting field. There's still a long way to go, and um, yeah,
with so much to discover and make better, right?
yeah,
It's like, but it's so interesting to follow it and see how it's growing and how
yeah,
it's becoming more. Um,
it's so exciting.
yeah, because this actually goes to the next question I have highlighted. Um, the main problem for many pet owners is the price of alternatives. Can we expect reasonable prices compared to traditional versions?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wish I had a better answer for this. Um, the issue is that we are competing against totally subsidized 25 cents a pound chicken, right? And other subsidized animal proteins. So the reality is that the plant protein, that we make is, something like 16% more, 16 times more expensive than that. It's about $4 a pound, right? So we would love to crack that nut. Like I am, that is definitely a long-term goal for Virtuous Vittles is we would love to expand. I mean, we have right now, so we have one product for dogs, we have one flavor for cats coming out in a couple of months. Um, we have about three flavors for each in the wings, and then we'd love to work on the affordability issue. It's just really difficult the way our food system is built right now. But with scale, hopefully we'll be able to provide more and more affordable food. And we
Exactly.
really wanted to, enter the market with like, we did a bunch of taste testing, and our food is like, it does have expensive ingredients. It's mostly whole food, whole nutrients from whole food plants,
Hmm.
which are by, naturally more expensive. But we also have 95% of dogs like loving it from first sniff and just wolfing it down. And so um, we uh, we can, hopefully apply all that learning and work on the cost issue in the future.
Yes, yes. And that's just how the vegan world is, right? We're developing things and we are against the subsidized market of animal products. And that's why here in Defense of Animals, we're working on that part of it more, the part where
Yeah,
we don't have these subsidized to death, um, industries as much, and we start subsidizing all the plant-based protein options that are out there, um,
yeah.
and totally good options, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's angering for us in human food too, right? Like, why are we paying more for our plant proteins than people are paying for their animal proteins? It's just completely illogical.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, so here's one question. Here we go. Um, we're curious about the risks of kidney stones, and we're like talking about vegan cats and dogs. Uh, Basically, does a vegan diet make it less
Ah,
likely that they'll get kidney stones? I think that's
yes.
the
Okay.
interpretation.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a common misconception, and I think it stems from the fact that plant-based diets for humans have been shown to be alkalizing, and that alkalizing diets for cats and dogs can contribute to kidney stones.
Mm,
However, so that's the leap that's being made. I think that is causing the concern.
mhm,
However, there have, people have looked into this, and there isn't a huge link between, well, there's no link between plant-based and meat-based in terms of likelihood of kidney stones or anything. In fact, Dr. Dodd has talked to us about it, and there's not very strong dietary link to begin with. Stuff like higher moisture content, there are some dietary things that you can do to help sort of fend them off and prevent them, but it's not like yeah, that it's not, there's no link between plant-based protein and kidney stones specifically.
mhm, mhm. I mean, that's usually what we're concerned about, right? As wanting to be long-term pet uh, guardians, you know. So uh, the main concern is usually their kidneys, right? So
Yeah.
it's an understandable question.
Yeah, totally. And that's why wet food is really great. And adding fruit and adding water wherever you can. Like if you do
Mm.
kibble, some water over it, just trying to encourage water drinking is going to be really important.
Yeah, I have those one of those fountains, so
Yes.
we love it.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
Here's a good question. Someone asked, they have two cats aged 11 and 14. Can they transition to a vegan diet? What what if they won't eat it?
That's exactly the problem that we're working on. Because we do think, but we want to make, we're making really, really delicious food. So like nutrition first, but delicious is right there next to it. Um, and it is really a challenge with cats for sure. Just with my personal experience as well. I would say transition very slowly. The more, kind of the 20%, 80, 60/40, like slow transition might help. I don't see any reason. I'm not a veterinarian myself. And I would definitely say, uh, if you have a concern or they have medical issues, you should talk to a veterinarian. But age otherwise shouldn't be a factor in whether or not you can switch over.
Mm. It seemed like there were so many more questions at first, but you did a great job answering them. So thanks everybody for putting so many awesome questions in the chat. And sorry for interrupting halfway through, but there were just so many. Thank
I'm
you.
seeing some about when our food will come out, so we're working on
Oh,
it as fast as we can. Yeah. The dog food is out, of course. And it's just so important that we come out with cat food soon. Like, even though it's a little bit of a scary leap of faith that it'll sell well. But so we're looking at, about four months from now.
awesome. Awesome.
Actually think your cat food product might be the signature product that you do offer for many of the kitties who are finicky and
Mhm.
want to eat food with certain textures even. I think this will really open the door for many vegans to feel in alignment with their choices that they are
Yeah.
making for their beloved um,
Yeah.
family, feline and canine. So it's important. There are many of us I think that will be really excited to purchase a product and value that. So
Yay. Yeah. Yeah, that's my feeling too. It's really, it's a difficult space to enter because um, because there's a lot of there's just a lot of education that will go hand in hand. But I feel really, yeah, we're very committed to coming out with it and just starting that conversation or continuing that conversation for people.
I spoke too soon. There was more great questions in the chat. Um, I love this question. Where can we find the research articles that you mentioned? I believe it was Kevin. What was it?
There's Dr. Andrew Knight.
Dr. Andrew Knight,
Yep. Dr. Sarah Dodd.
Sarah Dodd. Okay.
Yeah, Dr. Tona and I'm Montejero. Um, and you can find them on like PubMed. Uh, what's the other one?
I use ResearchGate with an old
ResearchGate. Yeah, yeah, these are all published.
Google
I mean, if you
login.
do a search for
Those names.
those names, you'll come up. Yep.
Perfect. I love it.
Melaharo. I'm sorry. That's Dr.
Oh,
Tona Melaharo. Yep.
okay. Maybe we can put it in the description at the end
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
when we post this.
Yep. Yeah, I'm happy even to put a series of links together. We've got some of them on the blog portion of our website, the Feeding the Future sort of blog portion, and we will be writing more. It's kind of in our plan to have more educational materials up there
Awesome.
soon as
Awesome.
well.
We also want to know if this product will be coming to Canada.
Yes, we hope so. Dr. Dodd, who's our nutritionist, is actually in Canada herself. So, yes, we hope so very soon. It involves a packaging change. So you have to put
Oh,
French language on packages in Canada. So it probably, won't be super soon, but as soon as we can.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's more.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, can you see the chat?
I can, yeah, yeah. I'm seeing Colorado. So I think we have Colorado, and this is an interesting thing and why I'm so grateful for my co-founder Lizbeth, who's also in the chat, um, who's an IP lawyer. So we are dealing, it's crazy. Every single state has different regulations, and pet food is actually way more regulated than human food is. Which kind of makes sense because it's their primary, you're feeding one food, potentially only one food
Oh,
for an entire animal's life. But anyway, because of these regulations and just the way our legal system is set up, we have to individually apply for a license in every single state. Oops, sorry, that's my little dog. So yeah, so we have about 25 states. We're about halfway through. If we get an order from a state that we have not um, gotten approved in yet, then we send an email, and it usually takes somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. Some states have been a little bit more difficult.
oh,
Some of them are come through in 2 days, so we just have to wait, and then we'll send out the order. So if we're not in your state yet, you'll get an email from us. We'll let you know. We'll refund your money if you'd prefer to just wait another way. But otherwise, we'll let you know, and then we'll send it out as soon as we get the approval.
awesome. Thank you everybody for all the great questions. Well, let's Lisa get back to the regularly scheduled content.
Wow. Actually, this is part of the content here
Okay,
is
you're
being
right.
able to bring this conversation to everyone so you can ask your questions because this is one that's been on the minds of many of us for years, especially as we learn more as activists and want to have more alignment between our actions, what we're doing, all of our daily choices. And this is one that can create a lot of inner harmony for many of us. I know when we've led our activist support groups, one of the concerns that comes up in many of the meetings is, oh, what about, feeding our animals and what's the best way to do that morally and ethically? So you are definitely meeting a key need for all of us, Briana, and we're really grateful to you for putting this together. Even as you started in your kitchen many years ago, now went and moved into the next realm of factories, and
Yeah.
that must be a very interesting process to kind of graduate
Yeah.
from a kitchen to a factory. Um,
Total leap. And we so appreciate your help and like just everybody who's interested in it, please help us spread the word. We are a tiny company. It's just Lisbeth and myself, and we need all the help we can get, making people aware of us so we can keep going.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what this is all about too, is the more um, puppies and kitties that get to try it and really like it, that will create more demand for what you're doing, and also as their health improves and veterinarians start to ask, whoa, what happened? What changed? What did you do differently? Well,
Yeah.
I'm trying this new food, and this has really worked. And even it might, who knows, maybe it'll prevent some of the kidney issues that are going on.
Yeah. And one of the big use cases is for allergies, right? So 9 out of 10 of the top allergies. So, and this is, for people who are outside of the vegan world, one of the main draws, and we've had multiple conversations with people who, have a dog that's allergic to like multiple or very common meat ingredients. 9 out of 10 of the top allergens are animal proteins for dogs. It's really the majority of their reactivity is to animal protein. So, a lot of the clinical diets for dogs with allergies are plant-based and perhaps not that delicious or not made with the best ingredients. So here's another alternative to that can be applied in those situations as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Especially, I've noticed I have fostered some different kitties, and I know, remember one of them was allergic to chicken, and that was in so many of the different products. Even
Yeah,
if it wasn't labeled that, it might be labeled another type of animal protein, and still that was part of the ingredients. And so it was
yeah,
definitely challenging to find some food for this little kitty. And so I think this is a great other market is all of the
mhm,
allergens. And for animals, especially in the cat situation, if they are allergic to food, sometimes it comes out in their skin. So we would just notice they're itching more, they have something going on with their skin, and it turns out they have an allergy to
yeah,
the food
yeah,
product.
totally. Licking, itching, ear itching, biting, that kind of thing. Exactly. Um, Yeah, and it's interesting you bring up like sometimes it's not even on the label. It's funny for such a regulated industry, I think because of sort of the nature of a lot of the, rendered and highly processed animal products that go into the food. There was a study at UCLA, and I'm going to struggle with the exact numbers, but it was like something like 60% of the foods they did a genetic assay to see, what the species of meat product was, and it was like 60% of them or something were mislabeled. So yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mm. Well, that's very serious, and we know certainly as activists that many, products that are fur, they get mislabeled too. For example, that might be labeled one animal and turns out to be dog and cat fur.
yeah.
So this is something that is very important for us to be able to align with our own values, actually.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for mentioning that and addressing that. It's safer for us to have a product that we trust from a person who is also an activist and has done the research. So that's what we um, will really appreciate in your product.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Um,
Thank you. Thank you so much
just
for.
just wondering, maybe one other thing is, what do you think people most misunderstand about the plant-based, animal companion nutrition? Is there anything?
I mean, the thing that we just hear over and over again is like dogs are carnivores, and that's you know, uh just not true. They're omnivores. Um, I think also it's interesting, a lot of people think that, you don't find protein in plants. And the highest protein foods are actually plants. Like spinach has more protein than cow, than beef does. So per gram or, so I think I mean, as a these thoughts or these kind of ideas have evolved a lot for human food, but there's still some of that old stuff is like being applied to dogs now. So I see sort of that the same thing, the same questions I was fielding 30 years ago, um, and still do today, right? How do you get your protein? It's like, oh my gosh, it's so easy. How do you get your fiber? Um, so I think those are just kind of moving over into dog nutrition, and it's just a matter of opening people's eyes and kind of getting the truth out there.
Well, you're certainly doing that with your product. I think that's part of it is this huge public education that you're doing to let people know that it's not only possible, it may be a healthier alternative, it's a more environmentally sustainable alternative, and also maybe the animals like it better. So it could be just similar to what happens with vegans. People might say, "Wow, you're looking great. You seem to have so much energy. What's going on? What have you done differently?" And it might be the same at the dog park with
Mhm.
the animals. Well, what happened to your pup?
Yeah,
Looking really, really good and a lot of energy there. So it could be that. And yeah, I've known for years people who had vegan animals who they lived longer and were in good condition, and so
yeah.
that's really important. I think I heard even with uh, foods that are animal based, they might put the elements like the taurine in afterwards because
Oh yeah.
it gets kind of cooked out in the process. And so either way, the supplements are what's putting the nutrition into the food. So,
Completely. Yeah. And in fact, I mean, a lot of, depending on the quality sort of the food that you're buying, sometimes it is, very low quality ingredients. And then they, plant-based ingredients too, plant and meat. Usually I'm talking about conventional food. So I'm getting a little, little small dog pawing at me. Um, he's like, you're talking about the food. Um, um, so yeah, and so companies will, sort of just like slap a whole bunch of supplementation and taurine and other synthetics and um, to sort of make up for the lower quality of the main substantial ingredients. So we really took a different approach. We started with like, okay, what nutrients do we need and how can we best achieve that with a as low processing food as we can achieve. So, we have fresh vegetables. We have the protein flours that we put in there are water processed. They're not chemically processed. Um, yeah, so just really trying to start with like take those put it in the building blocks themselves rather than just slapping some supplementation on top of something that isn't as complete to begin with. So we call it minimal supplementation. Like there's always going to be a little bit, and the cooking does take some of it out, but we can try to get away with as little as possible.
well, that's good to know. That's excellent because I know um, there's some question about the foods that the animals are eating, and maybe that might be contributing to some of these, chronic illnesses that they have, especially later in life. That it might be part of it is the commercial foods that they're eating. So you're offering something that might include benefits to longevity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the food, especially animal products, are rendered multiple times. Each of those rendering is like a high heat process, introduces carcinogens to the mix just by the nature of that process. So you're kind of sidestepping all of that and avoiding that with the plant protein as well.
Mm,
And a lot of chronic diseases in dogs are mirroring those that are occurring in the general human population because we're feeding them so sort of similarly and sort of not to ourselves, but similarly in that it's, highly processed and very heavy on the meat ingredients.
well, thank you so much for doing all of this because this is sounds like a big revolution in not only the foods, but that will help with the health of our companion animals. So really appreciate this. I know there's a question about if it's going to require a subscription or a prescription.
No, nope, neither. We will have a subscription option for people who want to opt in. I personally love some things on subscription and want to buy some stuff when I just need it, so we're going to provide both options. So right now you can just buy it you can buy a bark sampler, which has comes in a cute box, has two full-size containers of the food and a little treat tin, which is handy for my Chihuahua that gets into any plastic bag with treats that I put anywhere. He'll come and pull my purse off the table and go through it to get the treats out. So that this is why this was designed by us. So you can get that to give it a try at home for $20. And then if you love it and want to continue buying it, we offer it by the case and we'll very soon have a subscription option as well.
Excellent. That's so helpful. It's great to know that you've got all these alternatives and even treats. I'm thinking, oh, how could you branch out,
Oh yeah, we
treats?
have plans.
Yeah, good, because
Yeah,
that's
we have plans.
a big part of, I think for these animals, what's exciting for them is to get a little treat. So it's nice to know that we have a treat that works for all beings, actually. Aw. Well, gosh, Brianna, what a pleasure to chat with you today and to have you be able to speak frankly with us about your product and why you started this and the big difference it can make in um, the environment and also in for all of us to be able to make those choices that we can make for ourselves that are moral and ethical and being able to do that for with our companion animals' health in mind is so incredibly helpful.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Mary. And thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to come and chat and answer your questions.
Yeah, and the best place for us to connect with you and purchase these things, would that be
Yep.
through the website or?
Yep, virtuousvittles.com. We can also follow us on Instagram. We've got like little bits of snippets of education and taste tests and fun stuff on there. Um, and we love questions. So there's several places on the website that you can send questions in. We get the email, we'll respond, let us know what anything you want, or any questions you have, we're happy to answer them to the best of our ability. And we also have our full AAFCO testing panel on there under the nutritional, under dog food and then nutrients. There's a button there, and you'll see every result we have.
Excellent. This is amazing to have all these resources at our fingertips. It's so great. And also the question about the veterinarians, that's another resource for veterinarians is to give them the website. Here's my plan. Take a look, see what you think of this. And then if they had any questions, I'm sure they could ask you as well.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you for contributing to the vegan revolution with
Thank
your
you.
product. And I'm certainly ready to buy some. So as soon as the kitty product is ready, I'll be at your door
Awesome.
or on the website. Be sure to get the subscription. So um,
Thank you.
very, very much, Brianna, for joining us today and to everybody for your questions. And we'll uh, have the replay available on our um, In Defense of Animals YouTube channel for our Activist Appreciation Month playlist. So we hope that you'll continue joining we have a few more programs left for the last week or so of of the month, and we just want to continue to offer you great and supportive programs. So thank you all very much. And thanks to Mary for helping with our chat box. We really, really appreciate you so much for doing that, and to everyone for being with us today. We hope you have a great evening, and thanks again, Briana. And also,
Thank you. Thank
thanks,
you. Bye.
everyone.